Did you know that over 60% of new anglers quit after the first year? Well, you don't have to be one of those anglers. If you follow my 5 simple winter checklist tips, you will have a better season next season. I can guarantee it. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Now, do people still fish in winter? Yes, absolutely. People are right now bank fishing, boat fishing, kayak fishing. It's happening around the country, but you will not find me outside in this cold weather. I'm not a cold weather person. I don't like being cold. It doesn't matter if it's 20 degrees or negative 20. I don't want to be outside. Plus, this time of year, I'm spending a lot of time in the basketball courts, helping my kids out, coaching their team. So it is really like a basketball time of year for me. But it's also a time of year where I can set myself up with these 5 essential tips for next season. And if you are one of these beginner anglers that really struggled last season with understanding what to fish, how to fish, and you became frustrated by not understanding what to do, this is the time of year to set yourself up for next year. So my first tip for you is to research. This is the time of year to research. Look everything up you can about fishing. If you were struggling understanding where the bass were at certain times of year, this is a time of year to research it. If you're struggling to know like what baits to use at what month, this is the time to research. If you're struggling to know what kind of rods and reels are helpful and best for beginners, this is the time to research. Research everything because it's out there. Everything from last season that it was published or made for YouTube, especially like those bait of the month videos, those will be helpful even next year as well. So if you know you're going out early March, April, May, now is the time to research those months so you know what to look out for and what baits might be helpful. You also might want to look at locations, research new locations. If you're a new angler, you may not be privy to all of the locations that are available to fish in your area. Now is the time to get that FishBrain app, look up Google Earth, and see what different things and places are around you for bank fishing or kayak fishing. Where can you rent kayaks from? Where can you rent john boats from? Look this information up now so when the spring comes and summer comes, you have it readily available. All right, so there's a few things you can research. Also research like knots that you can tie, different line that you might want to use, what bait goes good with what line. Research that stuff now so that you can then do step number 2, which is take inventory. Take inventory of what you have right now. It is always a good time to look and see what you currently have so that you know what you can expect to use next season. As you look through that, you'll find things that you ran out of that you really loved, or things that you forgot about that you really were successful with that are sitting there with full packages. So make sure you're taking inventory, because after you do that, you will do step 3 and checklist item number 3, which is gear up. Gear up. Get as much gear as you can right now to help you in the spring. Right? Look at what was successful. Look at what your research provides as far as what baits are going to be successful and helpful for beginners and for you in your area at different times of the year, and gear up. Get that line, right? There's so many sales right now, especially like clearance is popping right now for Bass Pro Shops. Clearance is popping for Tackle Warehouse. Right, a lot of bait shops are getting rid of last season's supply and starting to get ready for the spring. So now is a lot of clearance sales. Now is the time to go get something that you really want to try in the spring and gear up for the spring. Tip number 4 is gear maintenance. Right, so there's nothing worse than getting out that first time in spring, ready to go. You know the fish are ready to go, and you get out there and your line breaks, or you get out there and your rod tip is broken, or you get out there, there's a bird's nest in your reel that you forgot about from last season. But make sure that you're doing some rod and reel maintenance. That may mean just relining your reels. That may mean putting some oil right in your reels. Make sure they're smooth for next season. That may be looking at your baits right now, your hard baits, and seeing, oh man, I forgot that hook broke off. I got to replace that hook. Or man, this tackle box is really rusted. I want that to affect the other baits, so I'm going to clean that out. Right. So making sure that your rods, your reels, your tackle storage is all clean and ready to go for next season. The last and most important tip I have for you today is going to be to practice. So I mentioned knots earlier. There's almost nothing better you can do as a beginner to become proficient at knot tying. It will drastically increase the amount of cast you can take because you're not going to be spending time tying knots over and over again, because they're going to be good knots and they'll last a long time. You'll also be able to tie them quicker. So learn how to tie knots. You need 2 knots, one for your bait and one if you're using a braid to leader connection. So for me, I use a Palomar knot for my baits. I believe it's the strongest, easiest knot for beginners. And then for my braid to leader connection knot, I use a double uni knot. Once again, it's a quick, easy way to make that connection. And I practiced it, right? My first or second year, I was so embarrassed by having my brother and father-in-law tie every single lure on for me that I spent that winter really practicing those connection knots, really practicing those bait knots. So now I'm doing it. I'm able to move on. Even when it's cold outside or hot, I'm able to do it really fast and then move on and get my bait back in the water. Another thing you might want to practice is casting, right? Even if you don't have a lot of space, you can set up a cup somewhere if you're nice like that. Or you can set like a hula hoop somewhere. You get a designated area that you want to cast into and learn to practice pitching or casting into that designated area. We all know that when we're fishing, there's certain spots that just look juicy. There's certain laydowns that you know that there's a bass in it. But sometimes as a beginner, we struggle with getting our bait into the right spot, and we end up casting to a whole bunch of places around it and maybe scaring that fish off. So make sure that you're trying to practice where and how to get that bait into the right spot, because the wrong bait in the right spot will catch a bass. So make sure you're practicing. So those are my 5 checklist items for this winter, things that I'm doing and things that beginners should be doing to get ready for next season. Do not be part of that 60%. You can ensure right now that next season is more successful and less frustrating, with more bass on the bank or more bass in the kayak, with following these tips. Hey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.